It'll be a long way to beat that. Roachy leads with the Robertson. It's coming home. It's coming home, Ben. Miller, the curse is finally over. The curse is finally over. Remember, guys, we wrote the rules of the game. We wrote the rules back in, what was it, 150 years ago. We wrote the rules. This win is largely due to the support of you guys. Hey guys, we're back again. Russell Robertson live.
Robertson! Out of nowhere! Robertson! Out of nowhere! Robertson! Out of nowhere!
Hey guys, welcome to Robbo Live. I cringe every time I see that video that Davo made. I didn't make it. It's ridiculous that I have my own show and I'm putting my own highlights on it as the intro. I didn't do that. Davo has an awful sense of humour. He's not here. He's in New York right at the moment, old Davo. So it's Robbo flying solo for a second, just for a second, until I bring on my very special guest, which I've been talking about all week. The great David Neitz. He's in a waiting room at the moment, ready to just jump on, and we'll get him on in a second. But what a big week it's been in football again. There's a lot going on in some areas that I want to talk to Nita about tonight, especially where he's doing a lot of work at the moment, which is in the MRP, the match review panel. Our man Lockie Hunter is not saddling up this weekend, which is a damn shame because he's been fantastic for us. What a terrific player he's been. I just want to say hello to everybody that's tuning in. Now, you've got to ask me questions because this is live, baby, live. Nita is one of the greatest Melbourne players of all time, in my humble opinion, as I said on the social media today. Questions, please. Hello, Melinda. Hello, Sylvia. Hello, Barry. Of course, you guys are here. How did you like this week's promo? We did the reminder on Facebook for the first time this week, so I'm going to have to do that every single week because people are out and about and living busy lives and they want to tune in. I've got my helper over here. Fee's helping me. Say hello, Fee. Hi, that's Davo's wife, who is a Melbourne supporter, and her favourite player of all time was Shane Woden. Anyway, it's a funny story, and I know Nita's listening to this in the waiting room, but it's a funny story. If you don't know how I know Davo and Fee, it's because I've got to say hello to everyone. Richard, Louise, Robin, they're all here. How you going? MSC 1858. How are you, mates, or people, whoever's doing that? I came over to help in lockdown when we hit COVID. One of my mates was he's got a building company and he was run off his feet. Melinda said she loves Shane too, Fee, so you're not alone there. And one of the jobs we were doing at the time when I was bored, sitting at home doing nothing, my mate said, "Come on, get off your ass and come and help me out. I need some labourers." And I laboured away at this house for a long time. Got my dog here, Ringo, at the moment. It's annoying me. Go away. Let's get Nita on, Fee. I'm rambling and I don't want to. The questions are going to come in thick and fast. Hello, Nita.
G'day, Robbo. How are you, mate?
Look at this. It's working perfectly. I can't believe it. We were stressing. We were worried that we wouldn't get this right because Davo's not here and he's our tech guru. Nita, we were talking about this yesterday. You made the astute comment.
Before you go, Robbo, I just do want to touch on your intro to your podcast because I think, as a guest coming onto the podcast, I thought maybe I might crack it for one highlight, maybe one highlight. Now I realise that my highlights are not as dynamic as your highlights. I know, I get it, but I thought maybe there might have been one that you could have maybe thrown in there, thrown me a bone, but it's just all about the Robbo show.
Hey,
it is your show, so fair enough.
This is my show, and for 228 games of my career, or however many games it was when I played it with you, it was your friggin' show. So I'm turning the tables. I'm at full forward, and you're on a half forward flank,
I
mate.
know.
Starvation corner.
I know, until I got injured, and then you kicked 7 against Scarlett or something like that, and you thought, geez, I could have been a 100-goal kicker if this bloke wasn't here.
I've worked this out, people. Melbourne supporters, mate. Look at them go off feed. They're asking questions already like crazy. You're going too fast for me, guys. I'm going to have to go back over them. Nina and I were talking about this. When he didn't play, I think I averaged 5 goals. On the last time I had you on, I would have been a superstar if you weren't born.
Imagine how long the intro would have gone to this show in that case. It would still be going.
Usually I have a little promo for the guest, but Davo's not here, okay, so he couldn't put anything.
Davo gets the blame for lots of things. I'm just starting to work this show out.
Because Davo's not here, you're getting blamed.
Of course.
Oh, I've got so many comments coming up, Nita, and I think if I get a little distracted, it's because I really want to involve the people because they've been so fantastic with our show over the last couple of years, and they jump on every week just pre-Melbourne games to talk about Melbourne and talk about football, and it's great. It really helped during lockdown. You came in for one of my shows in lockdown. Let's go back really quickly to that time when we won that premiership in lockdown. I know we don't look back too much. We've got to keep moving forward. But what a time that was, mate, as a Melbourne man that you are. Wasn't it awesome?
It was pretty amazing. Such a strange set of circumstances for everyone to be sort of locked away at home, or some may have snuck around to a friend's house, and it was hard to just sit at home by yourself. So I think I may have popped over to Paul Hopgood's house, and he was in the bubble. They used to have the thing called the bubble. He was close enough to in the bubble anyway. So
100%.
I went and watched it with his family, and it was just amazing, you know. And he's got a young 10-year-old boy. Well, he's a bit older now. He's going to be a young, good footy player, young Harry Hopgood. Just letting you know for everyone out there listening.
Plays for Sandringham,
Harry
doesn't he?
Hopgood is going all right at the moment. He's very young. He's only 11 or 12, but he goes well. Yeah. But he's obviously a mad keen Demon supporter, and every time the Demons kick a goal, he was high-fiving and he was clapping. He was whichever number kicked the goal, he was clapping the number out.
Awesome.
How many times they kicked the goal, and then my favourite one was when we went the old bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
You know, it was like Fritsch kicked the goal. So he's clapping out to 31 and counting. Fritsch another goal 5 seconds later, counting out to 31. And then lo and behold, Benny Brown bobs up, number 50. And the poor kid got to about clap number 30 and he ran out of breath.
He ran out of breath.
Oh, he was so excited.
That's fantastic.
It was pretty jubilant, and brought a tear to all of our eyes and big cuddles in that side. It was unbelievable.
Well, you're right when you say it was extraordinary circumstances, and this was my bubble because I was working here, so I was allowed to be here. And Davo and I really, and Fee, we bonded over a whiskey and a gin or two. And that night I may have gone a little hard, and you saw that in the intro. It's coming home. So we wrote the rules of the game. I was very sozzled at that point, Nita. Now, quickly, I want to go over some of these comments that are being made as we go along, because I think for a lot of these people that tune into this show, our era was a bit of a halcyon day for those guys, for these guys. One of the questions that's flashed up is, what was your relationship like with the Big Ox on and off the field? Because you guys look like great friends. I know the answer, but you can tell the people here, you look like great friends on the field. Yeah,
look, we were young kids growing up, and probably him, Paul Hopgood, who I mentioned, and myself, the last sort of bastion of the under-19 days, I suppose. And no, we had some great times on and off the field, particularly early days when it really was the Big Ox at centre half forward, myself at centre half back, Gary Lyon up at full forward.
Oh.
I think we sort of thought, well, this is going to be our spine for quite a few years to come. And then, obviously we had injury to the Ox, injuries, Gary's back sort of packed it in, and I ended up being a bit of a swing man. But we had back in sort of that, 93, 94 in particular, with what we thought was going to be a pretty good spine for the next 10 years. But it sort of went slightly awry. But the Ox was just an amazing player. Everybody come back after the 3 knee recos and win a best and fairest and play to the level he did is an enormous effort when you think about it. And then off the field we had a really good relationship. We went overseas together a couple of times. Yeah. We had a lot of fun. It got a little bit strained when I took over the skippership, and he had a few issues with his gambling, as everyone knows about, and it became a little bit difficult. But that's very much a small thing, and we're still good mates. We still catch up. Yeah. I see his son Cooper. He's living around near where I live, so I bump into him every now and then. So. No, we've got a great relationship.
Yeah, a lot of people probably don't know about Schwarter that his daughter is an absolute superstar basketball player. Recently did her knee. So, I mean, that's horrible news for her, and obviously something that's running through the family because we know how horrible Schwarter's knees were. But she's an absolute jet at basketball, and we expect to see her doing big things maybe in America at some point. And I'm not sure about Kusi. He's a bit of a lackadaisical character. He doesn't really care what he does. He told me on the phone the other day, the Ox, he said, he could do anything he wanted to, but, a bit like his old man. Not sure really what he wants to do.
Well, I think he's training to be a pilot at the moment, so he's got a few different aspirations, but not necessarily, I don't think, on the footy field.
Yeah. Now, you talked about that spine, and you were a swingman, mate. You went forward, obviously, when things got a little bit more short up, down, back. But you were down there probably when Paul Primke was running around. You talk about injuries. Now, he was going to be anything too at centre half back. But was it because he went down that you had to go back?
No. It was because why I had to go back was because we had David Schwartz, Gary Lyon, and a bloke called Alan Jakovic in the forward line. And there wasn't enough room for me in there, Robbo. So I think in one of my earlier games, my 5th or 6th games, I kicked 5 or 6 goals, and Jacko wasn't that happy. He said, "Mate, you got to get down."
I spoke to the great man today, actually, Jacko. He's doing very well over in the West. Loves his Demons. I tell you what. That man, Jacko, loves his Demons to a fault. If anyone says anything bad about the Demons to him, or even something good about the West Coast Eagles, he'll absolutely India. So it's good to hear that he still loves his D's, eh?
He does. And he's a good, strong Demon man, and caught up with him a couple of times in the WA. He's good value, Jacko.
Richard Newman wants to know: have you disowned Tasmania like Gary Lyon has disowned Tasmania? Because we know what you are, Nita. You're not a Parkmore boy. You're a good Tasmanian.
I was born there. I was born in Ulverston. So Dad went over. He was an electrician, but he went over and did a bit of work over in the mines up in northwest Tassie. And played for the Ulverston Footy Club, won a best and fairest up there, a couple of premierships and whatnot, and then I was born. I was born, and I reckon at maybe the age of 1.5, I was over in Melbourne. So it was. I don't remember too much about Tassie, but I do still have a fond sort of heart for the place. I've been over there a few times, and I really enjoy the place. And I saw a few people commenting on it was the Batuta Advocate, I think, about the Demons versus the Devils, and play the game when Dark Mofo's on, in a blood-soaked oval, and just make something really special of it. And I think that'd be really cool.
That's a hell of a game. That one, a hell of a game.
We can all run out to Highway to Hell or something like that. I love it.
It actually works, doesn't it? Because there's a faction that don't want it to be the Devils because it's obviously the Demons, and I'm not sure how I feel about it because and a lot of people have said to me, Robbo, being a Tasmanian, how do you feel? Would you have left Melbourne to go to Tasmania? And I can categorically say no way would I have left Melbourne to go to Tasmania. That's just the kind of guy I am, and I don't know. I think it might actually work having the Devils and the Demons. Anyway, let's leave that one alone because we'll find out in the end. Nita, your early career, I just want to quickly touch on that before we go into what you're doing now because there's a lot going on in your world at the moment. I know you're a very busy man, and we're a busy couple of ex-Demons tomorrow too with some more Demons as well, and I want to talk a lot about that. But Parkmore, you played your junior football, am I right in saying that? You might have played for a different team, but then you go through the Teal Cup national competition and get picked up at the Demons at an early age. Let's just recap that before we move on.
Okay, yeah. So I played. I grew up in sort of Noble Park, Keysborough area, in the Dandenong District Footy League, which lots of kids roaming around the streets at that time, and everyone was playing sport, and I was no different. But yeah. Played a little bit at Noble Park Footy Club for a couple of years in the very early days in midgets and under 10s or something, and then over to Parkmore with a few mates from high school. And yeah, sort of grew up probably a bit like in the seniors. I played a bit of centre half forward, a little bit of centre half back, and quite a lot in the ruck. So I played a bit of everywhere, even as a junior.
Yeah.
And then I guess at the age of 15, I started. I tried out for the Teal Cup when Dennis Pagan was the coach, and I was still playing for Parkmore. And he said, "Look, son, if you want to, we think we want to pick you, but I only pick people who play in the under-19, so you're going to have to play."
Yeah.
So I said, "Okay." Well, so I ended up started playing for the Demons in the under-19s at the age of 15. So that was, and I played on the wing, Robbo. Can you believe that?
Oh, what?
Can you imagine?
No, I've seen footage. I've seen footage of you playing on the wing. You're a 6 foot bloody 2-3 skinny teenager playing on the wing, and you were running around like a baby gazelle. I was like, who's that kid playing? You usually run at the ball leading, but you're kicking down the ground. What about that?
But now the wingmen are supposed to be the fittest, they run all day. How do you reckon I was going on the wing, Robbo?
No. You found your way to the pointy end pretty quickly, I would have thought.
Absolutely. So there was a couple of years in under 19s, a full year in the reserves while I was in year 12, which was amazing, and playing with guys like Chris Mew, David Rees-Jones, Terry Danaher. There's Peter Foster, Footscray, if I remember him. But as a 17-year-old, you really had to grow up quickly and find ways to how to use your body when you're a young, skinny kid, trying to compete against these men and seasoned campaigners. So it was a good upbringing, and then sort of got a good gig when Neil Baum took over in '93 in the seniors, and sort of kept going from there.
Hey mate, Gina Harksteel says, "Hi David, this is Talia's mum. Does that mean anything to you?"
I know Talia. I know Talia very well. Thanks, Gina. I think she was overseas actually recently, Talia. But she's a jet setter, Talia. She's a good girl.
Yeah, good on you, mate. Now you've got a couple of daughters of your own, mate. Tell me how that's going.
Yeah, running around behind me somewhere as we speak. So 4 and 8. Almost 5 and 9, so that's good fun. And the eldest has just started playing girls' footy, women's footy. So that's been good fun. They're very much in the learning stage at the moment, but it's good fun to be out there. I'm the umpire of the team, so it's good fun being out there with the girls and helping to teach them how to play.
Does anyone get into you? Come on, Neitz, lift your game.
What is funny? In the junior games, all the parents have got a job, and there's a job which is the umpire's escort. Now, I'm 6'4" and 100 and something kilos, and I've got someone's mum who's about 60 kilos wringing wet. She's the umpire escorting me out onto the ground. That's the case. I said, I feel very.
I think I'll be all right.
Now, But no, it's all been good fun.
That's hilarious. I'd love to see that. Actually, my boy played, and I tell you what, that our boys, and I've gone to events and we've gone to people's houses, and all our boys and daughters love the Demons, and I love what you said about Hoppy's boy and the excitement that he felt for the premiership team, because there was a lot of lean years for a lot of our supporters, but all our kids. Ex-Melbourne players, they absolutely adore the Demons. No, my boy's no exception as well. I was at a game in Sandringham here, and Michael Butchie Gale was running around as the umpire, the boundary umpire, and moving not very well. It was. I was like, keep up with the play, Butchie, and he's like, nah, I can't, mate. He's limping away. Are you like that, mate? Have you got any injuries?
Mate, at the under 10 girls, the ball doesn't move that quick, so I'm fine. But look, I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad, Robbo. I'm still able to move around. I still get to we've got a little running group that we have on a Saturday morning around the tan, so I still pop pop down there and have a bit of a trot. But no, pretty good, fortunately.
Yeah. Hey, everyone, just ignore those comments that are coming up from someone who's obviously being an idiot. You probably can't see it, but don't worry. We'll move on. I want to talk to you about what we're doing tomorrow. Big day. I know how close the ex-Melbourne players that played through that 2000 onward era, not 1998 onward era, with Neil Danaher, we all became because of we had some up and down years. We had a lot of success under Neil, but we have really, I don't know, it's a strange thing. I've had coaches, and I love Chris Fagan's he's my absolute mentor, but Neil Danaher is something completely different, and we all just would do anything for Neil, wouldn't we? And we know what he's gone through, but you've gone up to another level with your support of Fight MND, especially with your business, with the Brewmanity beer that you've been pushing for a long time, but building for a long time now, and you're in the building phase of a new place down in Middle Park or Albert Park, and you can talk about
Melbourne,
that in a second. But Neil we are going on the Danaher Drive again, because we love it. It's absolutely awesome, but we have to raise some money to enter into our car. We're having our event tomorrow. Tell us all about it, mate.
Yeah, no, we are. We're doing the big freeze at Bell's Hotel, so that's going to be which is just near where the brewery is going to be in South Melbourne. But yeah, we just have an annual fundraiser. We try and raise obviously as much money as we can to support the research that's going on. We caught a few of us caught up with Neil, watched it was the Melbourne versus the Gold Coast game, and popped over to Neil's place.
Yep.
And obviously there's a lot of money and emphasis on the research and finding a cure, which there absolutely needs to be. But then there's also research into the care part of it as well. And going around to Neil's, because he can't talk, he can still walk around, and the use of his arms is not really happening at the moment. So we're a little bit uncertain as to how it's all going to work. But it's amazing, the technology. There's now technology where he just looks at the screen and with his eyes and with the glare of his eyes, which you've probably felt a few times, Robbo.
Yes.
And the glare can talk, and it really can with the technology.
More than you.
At the screen, types out a word or a sentence, and the next minute there's a voice that pops up and says, "G'day riggers, how your kids going?"
Awesome.
And all of a sudden he's part of the conversation. So
awesome.
There are things like that, and there's multiple other things that all this money goes towards. And the foundation, they run on the smell of an oily rag. I think it's less than 10% of the funds go into the administration, and 90% goes out into programs and research and things that can help people. So it is an amazing organisation, the Fight MND. And obviously we're in it because of our passion for Neil. We want to support him and make sure that his legacy continues to grow.
Absolutely. Well said, mate. And Susie Klosko says, "Hi, Rob, Anita. You two are my favourite players. She's only human. Human." Hello, Susie. How are you? Say hello to Susie, Nita.
Hello, Susie. How you doing?
Now, you talk about those glaring eyes. I copped them a fair bit more than you copped them. I know that much for sure, because, we know what kind of player I was. But there was this, I want to tell a story to all the Melbourne supporters that are tuning in. This particular game was against Essendon, and I reckon, Nita, you might remember it, but I certainly remember it. We had big emphasis on this game. We needed to beat Essendon. I'm not sure whether we needed to beat them to get into the finals or whether it was a final itself. I can't quite remember, but I do remember this incident. We would talk all week about how we, as a forward line, were going to ring up their zone in the middle of the ground. So usually we'd go out into a zone, wouldn't we? But sometimes they'd all sort of bunch in the middle and would put a ring around that. All week long we'd heard about how James McDonald was going to be tagging James Hird. Fair enough, you got to tag James Hird. He's a superstar. So I'm sure James McDonald was stressing about that all week. But anyway, we knew that we had to ring up this zone. And Neil said to us in the Friday, the famous Friday before the Saturday game meetings that used to go on for an hour and a half, 2 hours, talking about what we're going to do in this game. He said to us, make sure if they go into the pocket Don't chase them into the pocket. Let them have that kick into the pocket. I'm happy for them to have the ball down in the pocket. Robbo, don't chase them down to the pocket. I remember him saying that. I'm like, okay, no worries, mate. I'll stay in the. I won't go to the pocket. Anyway, game day comes. We're out there. Beautiful sunny day on the MCG. True to form, we kicked a point, and true to form, they've gone into their little setup in the middle of around about the 50-metre line where they were just all bunched up, ready to spread out, and we'd bring them up like we were supposed to. And I've got Neil's words ringing in my ear: "Don't go to the pocket. If I stay here, I'm fine. I'm doing everything right." This is just before halftime. Anyway, James Hurd he's sprinted from the wing on the member side all the way through that little ring up thing that we had and out the other side, right past me. I could feel the wind as he went past me. And James McDonald, you know what he was like out in the field. He used to, yeah, exactly. He used to get quite fired up, and he'd tell you what he thought. Well, in that high pitched voice of his, he did not want James Hurd to get a kick on him. So he's like, "Robbo!" Expletive, chase him into the pocket. And I'm like, hang on a second. Neil's told me I'm not allowed to go to the pocket, but now James McDonald's telling me I've got to go to the pocket. And I don't know why, but I just went with James McDonald. He can't do anything. He can't drop me. He can't yell at me later. But I went with James McDonald. I ran to the pocket. Anyway, the bloke that I was supposed to be guarding ran to the flank. The ball got straight kicked to the flank, to the wing, to their forward line. Goal, siren. So I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do? It's a close game. I've just broken Neil Danaher's rule. The big thing he's talked to me all week. What am I going to cop? So we go into the change rooms. We go straight into the meeting room, and Neil walks into the coach's room. I could see the steam coming out of his ears. He searches the room, finds me, and into me. Absolutely smashed me. But then in my head, I'm like, hang on, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do for my teammates. And do you remember this? I got stuck into him as well. I went back at him, stood up, went towards him. You grabbed me and pulled me back down. You don't remember this, do you?
I don't remember it.
About 2 or 3 blokes grabbed me and pulled me back down. And when Neil saw me go back at him, telling him what I'd done in a loud voice, in my head as I'm doing it, I'm going, what the hell are you doing, Robbo? Sit down. Yeah, Neil calmed down. He goes, all right, we're going all right, fellas. We're going all right. That's over and done with. Now let's move forward. And we never spoke of it ever again. It's the one time I've ever gone back at Neil Danaher and I got away with it.
Well, I think we need to replay this clip. You need to express this to him. There's a therapy that needs to happen here. Maybe that's why he decided he was going to try you at half-back for that half of a game, Robbo. Against Adelaide. And that was a really short-lived moment where maybe Robbo could be a good off the half-back play, almost like a Jeremy Howe type. But no, that was definitely not the case.
No, they thought they'd try to add another string to my bow, but they realised quickly there was only one string on Robbo's bow. I went and played on Welshie. Can't remember his first name now. No, not Rowan. It was one of the Welsh. There's been a few. It was 5 goals he kicked on me. Okay, in a half. That's not too bad. I was the most attacking halfbacker they've ever seen.
You're still at full forward, even though you're playing at halfback.
Mate, we've played with some characters over the years. Paul Hopgood, you've mentioned him. Who's been some of those guys that you've just gone, wow, this guy's an absolute card and has only enriched your life? I know you're going to probably say Hoppy, but who else? Who else have you played with and just gone, wow, this guy's extraordinary?
I reckon I've been blessed to play with a whole lot of extraordinary people, yourself included, and I mean go through the years, and sort of as a young bloke you start off with just someone like Jimmy Steins, who's an extraordinary human being, who come all the way from Ireland, come over, wins the Brownlow medal, and he's in the middle of his Reach Foundation while we're playing with him, and he's doing all this teaching with these kids. And what a great role model to be able to sort of spend some time in the locker room with, and Todd Viney and Gary Lyon and the leaders back in those days, and then we've got a whole someone like Jeff Farmer, and living with Wizard for a couple of years was I don't know if it was a good experience, but it was an experience. No, it was fantastic. But I got to know him a lot better, got to understand his culture a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I reckon there's just been lots of people that enrich your lives, and then from a playing perspective as well. We've got again the Wizard, phenomenal small player, Aaron Davey on the Indigenous board. He came in and just created a role for these small tackling defensive forwards that didn't exist before Aaron came.
Ended my career.
Scene, a lot of players, Indigenous boys, have got him, I think, to thank for what he did.
We lost Nita. We'll get him back. This has been absolutely awesome. Nita's going to click on that link again and come back, I'm sure. I want to talk a little bit more to Nita about some of the great stories that he's, and I know them all, don't worry, because I was there with him. But I remember playing with Nita before every single game. He had such passion for the Demons. Don't go anywhere, guys, because Nita will be back soon. He had such passion for us to do well, Nita, that he would work himself up so much in the rooms, getting ready for that big speech before we ran out to our position. And I had this awesome privilege of walking next to Nita all the way to my position in the forward line. And I just felt 10 foot tall every time I was walking next to him. And felt like, I've got this massive guy next to me who's a superstar. I'm going to be fine. I mean, that just, how could that not make you feel amazing? But when Nita would walk out to position, he'd always vomit. He'd just be so worked up, and being out there on the MCG, he'd vomit. So I'd always have to jump out of the way of some of his vomit. So I'm trying to get Nita back on here, guys. I need you to ask me questions. Keep going. There's some that I've got, and I'm not catching them all. The bump on Luke McCabe, Matty, I need to ask him about that and how that all went down. Are we trying to get a new link, or should you just click on the old link, Fee?
Old link's fine.
Old link's fine. I'm going to click on the link again, Nita. So you can tell this is live. This is there's no buggerising around here. We're not doing this earlier in the day. We're doing this live. This is awkward. Just click on link again, mate. I reckon his phone's gone dead, just like Campbell Brown's phone went dead the other day. Anyway, we'll get him back. Other questions I want to talk to Nita about is the match review panel. How do we feel about Lockie Hunter and what happened there, people? What makes you angry about Lockie Hunter and some of the other incidents that are going down out on the field that probably aren't getting cited? I know Big Coxie from Collingwood. The thing that gets me about the match review panel at the moment is you can do something like throw an elbow deliberately into somebody to cause aggravation, but sometimes it causes a little bit of harm. Or you can deliberately, well, maybe not deliberately, but sort of in the heat of the moment, hit someone in the face, right? Like Coxie did. It didn't cause grievous bodily harm. It sort of just shocked him a little bit. And you can get away with that. But then you got someone like Lockie Hunter who's going for the ball. And I love what he said. I love what he said about when he was questioned, what could you have done in that moment? What you could have done is you could have stepped to the side. And Lockie said, well, no, that's not an option for me, because then I would be conceding the ball. And I think that's absolutely brilliant, because that's what we were taught growing up. As long as you're going for the ball and doing it in the right manner, things are going to be fine. Nita's back. He's in the waiting room. He's back, Fee. He went for the ball, got it wrong, got him, and he's gone again. Nita, you're in a bad spot. Keep trying, mate. He went for the ball, didn't he? So I'm going to go to the questions now. Some of the comments. Some teams have lost a game due to the umpires. I feel they need to have their own match review panel, Melinda Wood says. Louise says, I think Lockie was unlucky because it was really a bump as much as it was a brace. It wasn't really a bump as much as it was a brace. That's right, Louise. I agree with that. NB says, would Melksham beat Bell Chambers in a boxing match? I don't know, but good point. Steve Edwards, players lead with their head to not just draw free because of suspension. Shits me. I'm just going to say it. And probably fair enough, Steve, because you look at someone like Selwood who did it naturally to go low and he had no fear and he was very, very brave. But are you in trouble if you hit him in the head when he goes low, or someone like that goes low to draw a free kick when you're actually just going, as you should, hard at the ball, you get them hot, you cause a little bit of damage, do you get weeks? And this is sort of the stuff that I want to talk to Nita about, because Nita is he's on the match review panel and he has to adjudicate based on the set of standards in which he's given, right? And this is what we need to talk about. Seems to be, who are you with the MRO? That's a decent comment, Barry. And maybe another one I'll throw into the mix. It seems to be who you are within the AFL. We want this guy playing. If the AFL really want a guy playing, are they sort of throwing things out like the big names, eyes on product? I question that sometimes. There's confusion because we're not within the inner mechanisms and the inner workings of all of this sort of stuff. But my word, it seems like an American, sitcom where they're sort of in or a movie where they're in a courtroom at the moment. I love the stuff coming out. Actually, really enjoying that. Let's get this live. Let's get the MRP live so we can watch it and see how it goes down. I reckon you get more views on that than you would get on an actual game, because especially if it's for your club, with someone getting possibly rubbed out. Nita's having some trouble getting back online, guys, which is sad because I had so much I want to talk to him about. Richard says, I'm frustrated players are getting rubbed out when no one gets injured. Correct. Because isn't it supposed to be about how there he is, he's back. Chuck him straight back on. Now you're sideways, Nita. Turn your phone around. There we go. Gotcha.
Right, sorry.
You got the kiddies in the background, mate.
A few technical issues.
You're all right, mate.
All right,
We've moved on to the match review panel, and obviously Lockie Hunter makes it pertinent to us this week.
Yep.
I know you didn't sit on that one, did you? You didn't have anything to do with that one?
No. Usually, if it's a Melbourne case, I don't sit on that one. So
conflict.
But yeah, I've sat on quite a few this year, but none of the Demons ones.
So we can talk about the Van Ruin one as spectators, you and I, and we can talk about Lockie Hunter, and you can talk about others to a point. I know you can't talk too much about what happens in some areas of all of that, but people's frustration. Can you sense a little bit of frustration out there at the moment? What's happening in terms of people getting rubbed out?
I think there's always a little bit of frustration when people get rubbed out, and it's a bit subjective, really, isn't it? But I guess, and there's always a bit of a human element, and people see things slightly different ways sometimes. So, and particularly when it's your player getting rubbed out, So, I guess where I come from in regards to both of those Van Ruin and the Lockie Hunter ones, in the way I look at it, is it's just pretty clear to me about going for the ball. The rule, at least, is that if you're going for the ball and you continue to contest for the ball, then you should be able to do that. But as soon as you flinch or you brace or whatever, generally that means that in this day and age, you're going to be in a bit of trouble. And the reality is that the head trauma and all of the things that are happening of guys in our era and before, there's a lot of evidence sort of, coming up around the whole idea of head trauma. And I think even with the tackling and sling tackling, you see that players now, even over the last few weeks, have just changed the way that they, not the way that they tackle, but it's the way that they release the tackle and how they finish off the tackle. I think that is changing a little bit. So I think for long term, that's going to be a good thing. And I don't think it really takes anything away from the game. There's still bloody hard, strong, tough collisions.
Yeah.
But I think that's particularly the one where if you continue and still go for the ball, then the way it's sort of been adjudicated is that you're okay. But as soon as you kind of don't and you half flinch and you happen to hit someone in the head, then you're going to be in a bit of trouble, I think.
I think when I was, and it got to be honest, and as much as it's our club, when I saw Lockie Hunter's hit and he did clearly get him in the head, I knew that he was in a little bit of trouble, because I think it's not just a this year aberration. That's been for a while now. If you get someone in the head and there's a little bit of an effect, albeit there wasn't much, thankfully, you get him in the head, then you're probably going to get a week, or you're probably going to get, looked at by the MRP. And the one for me was the Van Ruin, where you sort of go, well, we've been taught all our lives to go hard for the ball. Now, the question was his eyes and where his eyes were. I mean, when you're deliberating on all these things, how much time is spent, talking about all of these different factors? How does it go down there? Because I think a lot of people actually don't know how it works.
Look, I guess from a when it goes into the tribunal, it's almost like a jury. There's three of us. There's the essentially the King's Counsellor who sits in there, who's got the legal understanding and whatnot. Then there's a couple of past players who sit and discuss. How is this rule written? How is how is the case being presented? Are there any legal cases? And then really you sit around and say, well, what do you think? Do you think he was going for the ball? Do you think whatever the circumstances of the case that have been brought, you just sort of adjust your judge and try to understand it. So, but it is, and you don't always get a unanimous decision. Sometimes you have two people might be thinking one way, and another person says, "Well, no, I don't. I think a different way." And then you might have that process might drag out for a long time because you're having deep discussions around some of these issues that everyone has. But ultimately, obviously you end up having to come to a decision, and that's what happens.
Do you get pizza delivered when those things tend to?
No, we do it by Zoom these days. Do you? No, there used to be a bit of a sushi at the end of the at the end of the tribunal when it was back at AFL House, but it's on Zoom these days.
Oh, boring. Michael Hayden wants to know, how many weeks would you have given yourself for fixing up Luke McCabe? It was a masterful moment.
Going for the ball, mate. Eyes on the ball, hands reached out for the ball. Didn't hit him in the head, hit him in the shoulder. So everything's fine. Not a drama whatsoever.
I feel like you've answered that before.
Cameron Bruce has asked me that many, many a times. And mate, you would have gone for weeks, he reckons.
I'm sure he has. Is there a man that doesn't love an argument more than Cameron, or does love an argument more than Cameron Bruce? He loves to have a bit of a debate, doesn't he?
If there is someone out there, I'd like to meet him because I'm not sure that there is.
Oh, mate. Well, it's a very important role that you held because, we've got past players like Sean Smith is very close to us that's having a few issues in and around the thing that you just touched on there, which is, head trauma, and it's real, it's serious, especially for Sean Smith, and I've sat with him and I know. So, we do have to do something about it, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, I don't necessarily think it takes away from the game. I think it's still a bloody hard, tough game. You've got to be super brave to get out there and play. Particularly, I think it's a little bit different in our era, Robbo, in that when we were playing, there wasn't the zones, there wasn't so much congestion. Everyone, the full forward sat at full forward, and the game was played pretty much in front of you in straight lines. And with the it's always been a 360-degree game, but it's even more so now. The leading angles and the leading patterns, so many players running into the unknown. Yeah, it's a really tough, hard game to play. Yeah. So I'm full of admiration for the guys.
Right, mate. Well, let's roll through this because you've been on for a while now, and I want to get you away. You got the family to get to. Last couple of things before we go. I'm going to do a fast five with you. I haven't even prepared the fast five yet because I've been a bit rushed myself this week, but I'm pretty sure I know you well enough I can just roll through this. But I want to talk a little bit about the brewery. and what's happening in that space, because that's something you've worked really hard at for a long time now, and we cannot wait for the establishment to open. What's it going to be called? What are we looking for?
Well, it's Brewmanity. It's just that Brewmanity Brewery. So in South Melbourne, so what we're going to have is we've got a brewery downstairs, and essentially a brew house next door, which is a small sort of room to more for the dedicated craft beer drinkers. We've got then a mezzanine level of toilets. We go up to the first floor. There's another bar with the rooftop beer garden. So where we are, we just get amazing 180-degree views of the city. And then we go up another level, and there's another deck, and that's mainly for events and things like that. So that's going to be called the next level. But in effect, it'll fit 400 people in. It'll have amazing city views, and we'll be brewing 16 different varieties of beer right underneath or right next to where you're standing. So a real tap to tank experience. We'll have great food. So come. Sort of, we're hoping to squeeze it in for grand final week if we can get it finished by then. But that's the race is on for grand final week. So around that time, think of us, follow us on
absolutely
on the socials and whatnot, and keep updated.
Well, my goal is to at some point take this show and be doing it live from your establishment, because I know, mate, this place sounds amazing. I know a lot of past players that are going to be getting really involved with some of the product down there as well. So if you want to get involved with some of the past players of the Melbourne Football Club and have a drink with them, you're going to see Nita and Hoppy and Rod Grinter and guys like that just sided up against the bar drinking some of Nita's good stuff, yeah?
Yeah, I know. They probably won't be paying either, but anyway, they'll be there.
Yeah, you won't make much money out of them. And I know I'm going to be playing some music for you down there at some point too. Absolutely. Because obviously that's what I get involved in. So, okay, fast five before I let you go, mate. Oh, I've got to get a quick chat about this week's game. Can you give us a little bit of a rundown of what you think is going to happen against Fremantle at the MCG?
Well, it's going to be the Jacko game, isn't it? It's going to be all eyes on that contest. Yes. So I'm absolutely fascinated to see how that all pans out. I sort of hope that the young fella does okay. He's a premiership player for us, and he was enormous in that game. And it's a big call for. I was family related. Big call for him to go at such a young age and do what he's doing, probably ahead of his time. But hopefully he can sort of withstand that. But they're in a good form. Obviously, we were a little bit disappointing last week to sort of get ourselves in front and then be allowed to be taken over by Port Adelaide. But hopefully that stings us quite a bit. And what are we, round 11 now? I think we've been okay to start the season, but hopefully we can start to really start to fire up and get our mojo going in the back half of the year.
Yep, need to beat some good teams just to get some confidence back in what we're doing. And I agree with you, Jacko, obviously an absolute superstar, and he's starting to hit some form too, which is a little bit scary. So
just not this week. We'll stuff him out this week.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a couple of big guys he's got to play against that kind of handy players. So, hey, mate, let's do a fast five before I let you go. I know we played a lot of football together, and of course you're going to say me, but don't say me. The greatest player you ever played with.
The greatest player, I'll say Gary Lyon.
Gary Lyon. The most mercurial player you ever played with.
The Wizard, Jeff Robbo.
Toughest opponent.
Toughest opponent. I'll go with maybe Matty Scarlett.
Matty Scarlett, very tough.
You kicked 7 on him though, but that's okay. But you're a superstar though, Robbo.
Yeah, that's right. And if you weren't there, I would have been better.
That's right.
No, so I'm going to double this question. So when you played in the forward line, Matty Scarlett, when you played in the back line, who was the toughest?
Wayne Carey.
Wayne Carey, yeah. It's hard to go by that guy, mate. Now, this might be unusual because I've got games where I remember more than what people would probably think, you know, finals games or whatever. Greatest game you ever played in? And that's a question without notice.
Look, it was the greatest and the worst, but the 2000 grand final was great to be there, and the worst, I suppose, at the end. But and then that Carlton final was one of the most outrageous crowd noise. It was a phenomenal buzz winning that game. I personally played crap, but it was probably
Me
one
too.
of my most
I was shit house in that game. I was terrible.
Thank God Brucey and Greeny did something.
Oh, thank God. Schwarter was pretty good in that game too.
He was too, yeah, true.
And other blokes that play quite well when you go back and watch the game, like Matty Collins played really well in that game, and our backline were fantastic. Whopper and Wardy and guys like that you don't really think they were fantastic.
You have a look at Stevie Powell. Stevie Powell probably he kicked 4 goals and 3 goals and could kick 5 goals from the midfield in some of those finals that series. He was elite.
He had a purple patch. What was the last one I had in my mind? We shouldn't talk about this sort of stuff, but the greatest footy trip place on the planet. We've been on a few footy trips together. I know they're old hat, but where's the best place to go on a holiday with your teammates?
What do we go to? Thailand was always good fun in Coast of Melbourne. Remember we went to Ireland one year, Robbo, after we played this national rules game.
Yep.
And I had the idea that we'd been out for a few nights. Maybe it'd be just go to a comedy night, get some culture.
Oh,
that didn't go down too well.
Worst night of all time.
It was the worst night of all time. I thought we'd get a bit of culture, but boys weren't into that.
We tried for you, Nita. We wanted it to work. Yep, our captain's asked us to go somewhere, but I tell you what, it was an hour and a half show or 2 hour show. I reckon 15 minutes most of the boys lasted. It was terrible.
Well, you've got to have a go. But no, anywhere where you got some sun on your back is a good place for me.
I want a real quick story. You and I, we went to Vegas. We roomed together, and we should never talk about what happens in Vegas. But one of the funny stories that came out of this is clean. Don't worry. We went out for dinner. All of us as a team, 40 of us. Yeah. And we all ate dinner and had drinks, and Nita's guys, you're going to love this. Nita's gone, boys, don't worry about it. I'm going to chuck it on my old credit card.
No.
Yeah, you did. You chucked it on your credit card for the points, and we all gave you cash, and you spent the cash in one night.
It's sort of kind of true, but the backstory was that we it's all true. But we went to the restaurant and Brucey had the cash ready to go.
Yeah.
But the place we went for dinner said, "Gee, we've got 30 blokes coming in here. All these big Aussie blokes coming in for dinner. We're not going to take cash. We need to have someone's credit card because when you tip the place upside down, we need someone to pay for all the damage." So they wouldn't let us go in unless someone put their credit card over, and that was me. And then the rest of it was true. All of a sudden, I paid for it on my credit card. I've got all this cash in my pocket in bloody Las Vegas. Next minute, I wake up in the morning, the cash is gone. What happened?
I reckon you're not the only one in history that's had that happen to them.
Oh, Vegas.
In Vegas. Yeah. Oh, mate, we could sit here and talk about stories for hours till the cows came home. It's been absolutely brilliant recounting some stuff with you, Nita. But really, we wanted to talk more about the Demons. And this week and how they're going to go, what you're doing now. It's been absolutely brilliant chatting with you, mate. I can't wait for tomorrow. We'll be catching up all day down at the Bells Hotel.
Yes, and if anyone wants to come down, you can come. Tickets are $150 if you want to come down for the whole show. We've got Andy and Gazy doing the run home live from the Bells Hotel, so you're more than welcome to buy a ticket at the door if you'd like to come and get involved with that. There's a whole stack of all ex-Demons down there. Or even if you want to come along later on and have a beer, Robbo's band's going to play from 6 o'clock. You can come along, have a beer, buy a beanie, and enjoy the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam Cusack wants to know your favourite band. Which is your favourite band? I know it's
the Russell Robertson duo. And
yeah, exactly, the Russell Robertson band.
Yeah, it's the only band.
That's the only band there is, and tomorrow that's going to be happening as well. So, mate, I can't wait for tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining us and giving us those insights about the football club, about the match review. I know it's you're busy with your family, you've got a very busy life, but I love seeing you, mate, and I can't wait tomorrow. See you tomorrow, buddy.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, everyone, for listening in.
Good on you, Nita. See you, mate. Well, that's the show. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining in. The questions have been fantastic. You helped me get through that with all of that sort of stuff, and I love the banter between all of you talking about what we're talking about on the messages there. Thank you, Fee, for stepping in for Davo, who's over in New York on work at the moment. I'm sure he'll be back soon. Next week, we'll be back with another guest on Robbo Live. Love you guys. Love the D's. Let's go, D's, this week. Let's get a winner over Fremantle. Brilliant show. See you next week.
there. Michael Roach is leading with the Robertson.
It's coming home. It's coming home, Ben. Miller, the curse is finally over. The curse is finally over. Remember, guys, we wrote the rules of the game. We wrote the rules back in, what was it, 150 years ago. We wrote the rules. This win is largely due to the support of you guys. Hey guys, we're back again. Russell Robertson live.
Robertson! Out of nowhere! Robertson!